This is a phone that most people will almost reject due to the lack of 5G and Google services. It's been many years that Huawei has been sanctioned by the US government, but that doesn't mean that it is just sitting on the laurels of its smartphone business and release a pointless flagship device, because the Huawei Pura 80 Ultra might probably be worth your hard-earned money for one very obvious reason: the cameras. I've been evaluating the Huawei Pura 80 Ultra for a month now, and this is one beautiful smartphone that's very distinct and easily recognizable in the public. Its camera bump is so big and heavy that weighs down the whole phone, but it is a pretty satisfying heft that makes it feel good in your hands. Huawei has also been rather nice to provide a fashionable Pura monogram vegan leather case inside the box, which I like it a lot, as it fully protects the sides and leaves the power and volume buttons tactile. And speaking of the power button, it also works as a fingerprint reader, which is pretty much long gone on flagship smartphones these days and works more reliably than on the screen ones. The Pura 80 Ultra has a really nice 6.8-inch LTPO OLED screen with a 120Hz refresh rate. It has quad curved corners that gives it a premium feel, and I love that it isn't too curved for me to perform corner swipe gestures comfortably. This is a great screen for media consumption, and I can't help emphasize the great stereo loudspeakers that offers very nice sounding premium audio that somehow feels better than some other flagships that I've used this year. On a side note, the Pura 80 Ultra is IP68 and IP69 dust and water resistant, while the front and back is protected by Condon Glass 2, which is equivalent to Gorilla Glass Victus 2. So it is a pretty durable device that you don't need to worry too much if it takes a casual dip in the pool or drop accidentally. What Huawei has continued to impress me is the company's self-developed chipset. The Pura 80 Ultra uses the latest Kirin 9020 chip, which is still a 7nm chip, but man, Huawei has certainly made great improvements over the previous generation with much improved graphics performance and power efficiency. It also brings faster Wi-Fi 7 connectivity, which will serve as a great compensation for the lack of 5G. Granted, the Kirin 9020 is still not quite up to par with the Snapdragon 8 Elite in benchmarks, but in the real world, you wouldn't find any form of stutters while using the phone. Even when it comes to software, Huawei isn't sitting still with the same EMUI software skin that's based on Android 12. I mean, it's still EMUI anyway, but it has finally introduced some AI features that's on par with the competition, such as being able to do face-to-face translation and removing unwanted objects in photos. Not to mention that Google Gemini Live and ChatGPT works flawless on the Pura 80 Ultra despite lacking official Google services. Huawei has done a great job by integrating the Micro-G framework, which works with all the Google apps I use on the phone. And let's hope this continues to work for the next few years. With the Pura 80 Ultra's known limitations out of the way, the camera system is what makes this phone limitless. It might look like there's just 3 physical cameras on this forward-shaped camera island here, but there are in fact 4 cameras right here. You get a 50MP 1-inch main camera with an adjustable aperture range of f1.6 to f4, a 40MP ultra-wide camera, and 2 telephoto cameras that does 3.7x and 9.4x optical zoom with a resolution of 50MP and 12.5MP respectively. These telephoto sensors switch mechanically when you get up to the zoom range, which is a very interesting engineering achievement, and it is pretty cool. But what really worries me in the long term is the durability, since it is an actual moving part that can possibly be damaged if you drop the phone a couple of times. There is also an annoying lag when you get up to that periscopic zoom range, but it's something that I can get used to. You can argue that Huawei could have just separated the periscope camera into a separate cutout like what you see on the Samsung S25 Ultra, but this is actually a thoughtful design to fit 2 telephoto cameras on this camera island that houses this huge 1-inch sensor, which the S25 Ultra doesn't have, and they don't need to worry at all, which is why they could have separated that periscope camera. Now, let's not spend much time arguing about camera engineering and all of that, and take a look at this set of camera samples. The Pura 80 Ultra really impresses in every shot I took, and I especially enjoy using the telephoto cameras as they capture such great detail and dynamic range. It is a very reliable camera system that I can totally use it for both casual and serious photo shoots. I'll let you enjoy these photos and you let me know your thoughts in the comments below. The Pura 80 Ultra is an excellent video camera, and I dare say the image quality can be sometimes better than my iPhone 16 Pro. There's very minimal jitters as it switches between camera lenses, though sadly you wouldn't be able to use the periscope camera for clearer close-up videos. The front-facing camera takes 13 megapixel stills, which is sufficient for some casual selfies but isn't as good as some cheaper selfie phones. But it thankfully takes up to 4K 60 FPS videos, which is necessary for vlogs. Compared to other flagship phones, Huawei didn't make the switch to a silicon carbon battery on the Pura 80 Ultra, as it still uses a pretty standard 5170 mAh lithium-ion battery with support for 100W Huawei Supercharge and 80W wireless charging. Battery life has been great, and one full charge can last me the entire day when I do a lot of photography on it. The one bad thing here is that the phone can heat up pretty quickly if you're shooting videos with it, in which the battery can take a hit when that happens. Ultimately, the Huawei Pura 80 Ultra is the finest flagship camera phone that the company has ever produced. It is ultimately a camera-first smartphone which will only appeal to a niche customer base that appreciates the camera engineering marvel that Huawei has done. The phone, as usual, isn't cheap. It retails for 65.99 ringgit in Malaysia, and even with a free 500 ringgit voucher applied on Huawei's online store, it's hard to justify the purchase of a smartphone with obstacles and limitations in software at such a high price. But like I mentioned earlier, those limitations can be easily overcome if you spend a little more time setting up. But if Huawei do a price reduction in the future, or if you happen to find a good deal at the marketplace, this phone is worth the shot. Alright, so that's all for my review of the Huawei Pura 80 Ultra. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and be sure to subscribe to the channel for more videos coming right up, and I'll see you in the next one.